Hello and welcome to week 2 of USS Summer, going back to the basics where it all began. And here today on the B stream, we are starting off with Ticklers versus Dundee Vanguard. Sam is joining me. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited for this game today. I think we're gonna be in for a good one on this B stream. I think the second game is also gonna be very exciting. I'm just happy to be here doing some USS Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly. We are back and better than ever. And these two teams ready and raring to go. We should be able to see rosters in just a second, as I believe the two teams are getting into lobby now just to get things sorted. Don't want to delay them too much, but it should be said that Vanguard coming into this as maybe favorites just based off of the seeding, but the seeding doesn't always tell the full story.
Yeah, I mean,
that's something that's happened a lot.
Especially in summer, with players coming in and out in a rotational fashion more often than not in this tournament. The seeding doesn't tell the whole story, as you said. Like, it can be adaptive, and obviously later on in the tournament, the matches are the defining factor of where these teams stand and where they rank in this bracket, in this Swiss stage, right? So it would be on paper an upset if Dundee Vanguard got something going here, but
yeah,
it's definitely
absolutely.
on the cards.
I mean, we'll see how it goes. The Ticklers are there to try and cause an upset here, and I believe that we've had our map pick in as well, so should be able to head to that very, very soon. As I mean, we're going off of the summer rules, bringing in the alumni, so a multitude of options here, and Runasapi has been picked. Even though it's not fully showing, that is Runasapi that has been picked first for Dundee Vanguard, given the option to pick that map instead of Ticklers deciding to ban a hero first, which, given the two options, I mean, maybe just protect banning over what you want to have. And given that there's been a little while since maybe these teams have played against each other, or we've seen some of these rosters come in, so you don't know quite as much about what's happening on the other side. We'll see how that will go, as we should be able to see our bans as well in just a second. And it is going to be a ban for the Ticklers of the Sigma. So Sigma being taken away, very strong in the current meta alongside that Mitsuki, so maybe wanting to stop that oppressive CC that we've seen, at least in pro play, and that's not too bad a thing to go with.
I do think it's interesting. On the other side, we get a Lucio ban from Dundee Vanguard as well, which, I mean, we're going for a ban on one of the biggest CC characters in the form of the tank of Sigma, and then on the other side, it's one of the most mobile characters in the game in Lucio, so I don't know, there's differing vibes here in terms of one team is not wanting to be stunned out here, but the other team not wanting to allow any mobility on the other side. So I think these bans actually feel kind of like they work well in tandem with one another to reduce some, like, these teams getting what they want here. With a Sigma ban, you don't want to be CC'd as much, but if you're banning out the Lucio for the other side, then they don't have that option of a mobile character who you'd want to CC so much.
I think we're Goldilocking the speed of this game at the moment with these two bans. We're not too fast, we're not too slow, we're just right.
Right.
On the precipice of going into Runasapi, a game mode that can flip off of that first team fight, whether you're able to take that first, roll it into second, and then get the payload, or the bots through that first objective, can really steamroll a team. And we've seen that a lot of times, and I think especially for the Ticklers, it's going to be them needing to come out the blocks quickly as the lower seeded team to try and get this upset going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the call out here as well, the Lucio ban, I think Lucio is super strong on Runasapi. I mean, one of those characters that you can kind of play on any map, but when you're banning a character as important as Lucio, when you're picking it, I think in first map of a series, you're trying to like get yourself ahead of the blocks, get that first game out, and it's good to do it on a map like Runasapi where it's one of his stronger ones. And I think there's similar sort of call out for Sigma as well, who works really well on this map too. As we get the selections, we've got a Ramatras on both sides, and a Widow pick from Mango is something I'm especially excited to see.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of damage coming from the backline as well. Stumpy Pen getting and Yoriuchi going with a lot of damage coming from the support. So Ticklers going for something slightly more standard, still opting for the speed control of Vex as well on that Juno. Red Clover going off to the side, trying to hit something, but nothing really happening right now. Rest of the team of Ticklers just forced back around the corner at the moment, and so Proxy immediately finding Finfinity and a second kill as both DPS get taken down by their opposite numbers. The rest of the team just making sure that this Ramattra will not fall down, and the Enchanted just has to back away, play life, as it looks like his first kill as Mango is getting more and more done on this Widowmaker.
Yeah, gonna get that SMG, actually the melee in the end, but a little bit of an overextension. Finfinity turns around with some flames into the Widow's face, but I believe... Oh, actually, it's kind of getting uncomfortable here, but yeah, Finfinity goes down, punished for it, but I think Ticklers... Oh, sorry, Dundee Vanguard, getting the pick on the Juno early, you're limiting so much of the healing on the other side, and Enchanted just has to back away there.
I mean, you take the trade of Ramattra being taken down by the frontline Widowmaker to them being traded out every single day of the week. So Proxy trying to mark the corners. It then turns into Lunky having to go forwards. Enchanted trying to get round, but it's a difficult situation to be in, just rolling with the punches coming through on the other side. And we said about the damage that was going to come through from this backline. Stumpy's able to get a kill onto Vex. Without that healing, it means that the rest of the team will fall right over as well.
Ooh, wow.
Stampy getting 3 in this fight. Devastating from the Baptiste.
Yeah, I think it's Vex once more going down early, and not only is that dangerous for Ticklers in terms of you're losing the healing output, but look at the ult charge for the Juno compared to the other side, where we've invested the Widow ultimate already. We can see through walls, but we have Ramattra, we have the Tracer Bomb too, and we have that Baptiste window, and that's a good headshot found on Scuba too. But after a 3k in the previous fight, surely that's even more coming for the Baptiste.
Yeah, you'd think so. Mango getting aggressive once more onto these angles, wanting to take these fights, and maybe just being forced to back away a little bit. Bit of overconfidence. It doesn't matter, though, if your Amatra's hitting through the rest of the team. Finfinity able to trade it out onto Proxy and able to at least take down a turret as well with that ultimate. Mango still finding the headshots, though, as another kill comes through. The Widowmaker trying to take over this fight. A third as well for Mango. Going crazy as it all comes down to what you can do here. Now the Captive Sun invested by Yoriuchi, trying to take down the Enchanted, able to do so. Now heals up that Ramattra with the Annihilation. They've invested a lot here, but it doesn't matter if you're this close to the spawn. Over 130 meters now. They look to close out this map. One touching here for the Ticklers, but surely it doesn't take too long until things can flip back into their favor. Eventually, with all of the ults expended, it is finally going to be the Ticklers winning a team fight and getting back onto the board here, but they haven't really been able to clean up, so it should be a quick refight here for Dundee.
Yeah, I mean, Ticklers, they might be able to remove that forward spawn, but 3 team fights in, and Vex still hasn't built up that ultimate. Got the final pick on the Ramattra, but it was great play from Stampy with the... Oh, dear. That's another first F for Juno. And Mango with a lovely headshot. It's looking dangerous here for the Dundee Vanguard as... Sorry, for the Ticklers as Dundee Vanguard are pushing forward. That Widow ultimate gives sight, but Finfinity looking like a bit of a star for Ticklers here. The real turner of most of these fights for that team finds the first onto the Proxy.
Yeah, able to be taken out, though, by Placid. Just making sure that arm run can't do enough to flip the fight. Mango's been getting these first picks left, right, and center as well. And Vexus isn't allowed to play the game. Now has the ult built up, but you can't use it if you're dead. Scuba do falls as well, and once again, this should be Enchanted falling down. There's no supports to help out that Ramattra, and now this bot gets back towards the spawn on the other side. It's so long that they're going to have to come back into this, the Ticklers, but that's if they even get the chance here. Nice hinder onto Flunky, but how much can it really do? Here comes the Juno Ray with the Annihilation. You're trying to do enough here, but Enchanted's going down low even without it. That Bat window on the other side doing a lot of damage. Mango's been taken out, who's been getting some of the first picks in these fights, and Finfinity going huge to make sure that the Ticklers can keep going just for a little bit longer.
I mean, Stumpy's come away with another kill there, but I think I would like to point out Vex died to Mango once more, but did get that ray off in time, and that allowed Finfinity to go big there, finding a huge 2-piece and keeping Ticklers alive here. They also have the Bob, but on the other side, the Ramattra can come away uncontested here, and I think It's kind of a pseudo tanking Bob versus a big Ramatra role in this next fight, and Finfinity really has to win this duel on the Tracer in the sideline. Gets away from the bomb, but Mango's taking him down. Red Clover, so the hit scan duel has come through in the way of Dundee Vanguard once more, pushing forward is Enchanted, trying to back this Ramatra into the corner on the other side, but Plastic Flunky has the ultimate available. The sightline has come through from Mango as well, so extra shots perhaps to the head for the Widowmaker, who has already been finding so many, but this time it's a body shot onto Finfinity. That's a big target to grab. Mango looking good here. Plastic Flunky's found Vex as well, so it's another big one fight here for Dundee Vanguard, and they haven't had to invest a Ramatra ult yet.
Yeah, you see the switch over to the Moira as well, just to get a bit more consistent healing over the Mitsuki, but doesn't do too much for you when Mango's just taking you down with one shot to the dome, or even a couple to the body in the case of Finfinity in that fight. Once again, TS1 approaching the spawn now, and with the Annihilation on board, Scuba Doo doesn't even invest that to try and get away. Bob has been invested onto the point, but once again, they can just wait this out as the rest of the team falls down around him. Bob having to look around and think, where's the rest of the team gone? Finfinity goes into the backline. That just means that there's no one to stall, and Dundee Vanguard off the back of Mango on the Widowmaker, just looking so consistent. Flunky in the front line, just stopping anyone from being able to do too much besides Finfinity. And while that's happening, all of your eyes are on this Ramatra for where he's going to attack you next. No one's thinking about where that Widowmaker is set up and how quickly their head is going to be taken off their shoulders.
That's some lovely Baptiste in there, controlling that burst spray to get that play of the game. I think it was the Mango show, but the Stampy Penguin Baptiste won that first fight, I believe, for them, and just looked super consistent overall. I think going forward here for the Toe Ticklers, Vex really needs to wake up a bit with their positioning. I think that's really the cause of most of their concerns here, is losing their support early doors. It's such a hard head to lose. Like you can kind of afford to lose Nash. You lose a lot of damage output, but your tank just has to back away so slowly and so sadly without a Juno, or maybe a Lucio going forward. I think also working on getting rid of Mango early is the best chance they have, because Finfinity did that in a fight, and I believe that's one of the few ones they did win.
Yeah, you saw when they were able to close the space, it went really well, but the space containment from Plunky just being able to sit there on the Ramatra and make sure that no one else could get through. Yes, you're allowing the Anran in, but the rest of the team is held at the gates. And with the amount of damage that's coming through from the support line as well, it's just too much for them to bear. So you have to invest to try and get through onto that Widowmaker as quickly as possible, but it's a lot easier said than done when the rest of the team is just pumping out so much consistent damage, making sure that you can't get through, and making sure that, you know, it's really difficult to play into that Ramatra mirror. The healing's still consistent there. Obviously, Yari has that pylon and the burst healing to be able to make sure that Ramatra's topped up, and it felt like they didn't have to do too much to keep the Ramatra up, whereas on the other side, it felt like it was a bit of a scramble, especially when Vex was going down early.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think there's two choices now Dundee Vanguard have, right? Because I think there's only really one game mode in this pool that Widow doesn't fully work on, and that's Flashpoint here, because I think all of our control maps can have at least a round or two where Widow can provide a lot of value. So I think a Suravasa pick is definitely a way for them to get into this game. And then also you have the option of a Widow ban, but I don't think you do those at the same time. I think that's the biggest mistake they can make, is banning the Widow and also picking that Suravasa, or maybe an Atlas, but I'd be surprised if we saw Atlas. So I think those are their two win cons to get those two maps, and I wonder where they're going to go with this, if they're going to make that decision, if they're going to see that call out too.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've got to be careful, but then the other worry is if Mango is able to do that on a Widowmaker, what about something like a Cass who's actually strong in this meta? And being able to click heads still stays with you no matter what character you're on, so it's going to be difficult, and that Cass is going to be able to shut down that Anran a lot more as well on the other side, and really that was the only way that the Toe Ticklers were getting into these fights, was when Finfinity was able to get through, able to get into the backline and find some early picks and make sure that Mango wasn't the one that was dictating the pace of play. And speaking about the pace of play, you are going to have a bit more pace brought back in for the Toe Ticklers with the introduction back of that Lucio. Is going to be able to provide a little bit more peel as well to Vex in the situations where Vex is getting pressured out early. So hopefully you see the Toe Ticklers with a little bit more comfort in some of these situations, but it does worry me just the clinical effectiveness that the Vanguard were able to operate with. You know, the only issues that they really had was when you're up against the spawn door, and eventually they were able to push through that as well with the use of the ultimates. It just became overwhelming to the point where the battering ram was always going to get through, and it was a case of when and not if.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, I mean, we're talking about the win cons for Toe Ticklers, but I think when you're pushing full push on a push mode, and I don't even know if Toe Ticklers got any meterage, it's tough for them to get in here. They have to play significantly better, and they have to shut down. Yeah, they have to shut down the opposition. I mean, Mango, I think it is the biggest threat, but also the Stampy Penguin Baptiste. I think Mango showed a little bit of hubris later on into that game. I think pushing very aggressive in punishable positions, and I think that is something that the Toe Ticklers can work towards dealing with. But again, if you're hitting shots, and especially if you're playing a more versatile character like a Cassidy, who, yeah, he doesn't have the best movement, but like, say you're aggressive, you're out of position, you can combat roll away, get that damage reduction, get back out into a safe line of sight to get some healing from your support, where you can't really do that so much on a Widow. Like, you have the grapple, but you're still going to be shot out of the sky if you really want to, right? So I think it's tough for Toe Ticklers here. I think Dundee Vanguard showed some great form there across the board. It's not just those two players, Stampy Vanguard and Mango. I think the whole roster played pretty solidly. The tank matchup looked good. I think the mirror of the Ramachas went the way of Vanguard too. It's hard to say if that was like the tanks themselves or if that was the team around them, but definitely within that map it went the way of Dundee Vanguard.
Yeah, well, pride does certainly come before the fall. We saw a lot of pride there from Mango, but speaking of falls, we go to a map that's known quite a lot for them. So it is going to be Lijiang Tower, picked by the Toe Ticklers to try and get back into this matchup. And with that Lucio coming back in, you know, it's a playground for the Lucio a lot of the time, Lijiang Tower, especially on Gardens. And in terms of Night Market, Control Center is going to be very congested as well, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Mango to play those longer range characters, but obviously you still can make it work, especially if you go in frontline Widowmaker, which we saw a few times from Mango. The Tracer ban from Toe Ticklers, not certain about that, but means that the effectiveness isn't quite going to be there, and maybe they just thought the harassment was a little bit too much on Runasapi. On the other side, the Moira ban just means that the crutch isn't going to be there, as we saw them flip over to that. The Toe Ticklers going away from that Mitsuki comp just to get a bit more consistency in there, and maybe that puts more pressure on Vex going in, and it feels like Vex doesn't need that extra pressure at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like the most positive thing I can say about the Tracer ban is there was a Tracer. But maybe there's something we didn't quite clock onto there, was how harassing that Tracer was, how difficult they were finding it to deal with the pick. So I mean, the ban, I mean, Tracers are hard to deal with if it's a solid Tracer. Maybe there's a bit more to be brought out there from the Dundee Vanguard side. And I think this comp is certainly a comp of all time. Junkrat, I really like Junkrat on this map. I think he's really nice here, and I think the Ramacha mirror for both sides is interesting to bring through. I mean, Ramacha's certainly strong, but we saw Dundee Vanguard kind of walk away with it when that happened before. No speed, free the team, and an Alari on inside on this point here is certainly a fascinating one. Is Control Center, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are going into Control Center.
But we see that Cassidy swap, but it's actually Mango playing the Shion, who certainly can do a lot of high burst damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here we go into Control Center. Both teams looking to set up server side, as is typical here. A lot of damage coming through from Finfinity, but you expect that from the Junkrat. Basically what he's brought into this comp to do. Let's force them back a little bit, but not going to get too much out of the trap. Scuba pressed and taken down immediately off of the use of that paper doll. Now it means that the rest of their team is just going to be slowly whittled away. And once again, we can see the Dundee Vanguard just looking so confident to take these fights, especially as you see Mango progressing towards the spawn.
Yeah, I think Scuba Doo's the return was placed slightly in the open, so despite, I mean, I like the aggression from a Mizuki who can get away to safety, but when you're not getting away to safety. It's high risk for very little reward in that instance. And once again, Toe Ticklers lose the support early and lose the fight off the back of it, snowballing all that damage from Dundee Vanguard. You got high burst from a Cass and a Shion, and the Ilari and the Baptiste certainly help with that, as Placid Flunky's punching forward just through this barrier, which can't block those fists, and trying to stump them at the gate here. Toe Ticklers need to make some progress forwards.
It's so difficult to get through this choke point when the other team is playing as well as they are. Just trying to get the damage through, and they are going to go through to the back of server just to try and get some more done, but looks like the collapse is absolutely there from this team. Baptiste window now to be invested as well, as Enchanted just tries to get to the other side, but maybe should have kept the hands up a little bit more. Red Clover, and you can see everyone once again. The collapse is perfect from the Vanguard. They read exactly what the Ticklers are doing. They get there before them, make sure they can't do anything.
Yeah, I like that rotation from Toe Ticklers. You feel like you can't get through that main gate, so you walk around to the side, but Finfinity was caught out, so you lose so much damage potential. As your Junkrat's just trying to survive, Mango's run off the map, so that's an advantage for Toe Ticklers. Unforced error here could turn things around for them as they invest a tire. They grab onto the Ilari too, so 2 ahead of the curve now, and this has to be a snowball here. They invest a Kitsune too to try and confirm this fight, and the Deadeye from Suproxy has been invested, as has the Mizuki ultimate, so it's not over yet. Placid Flunky with a Ramatra getting a pick onto Finfinity, but Enchanted spearing him away means Toe Ticklers do flip the point with 95 grabs, but they have to invest 3 ults here and grab an unforced error from Mango falling off the map.
You're looking at this Bob coming up that needs to hit for Red Clover. And I mean, it needs to be charged. You're 91%. It needs to be found in this fight. And already you've lost Finfinity. That burst damage is already gone. Now you see this spree come out from Mango, and not really a target-rich environment for the Shion. Flunky going down low as well on the Sig, but the rest of the team's doing the damage. Just needs to stay alive, and that's exactly what they've been able to do. Stumpy Penguin on that Baptiste again, just raining through the bullets as Enchanted. There's nowhere to go. Stumpy Penguin once again building those Baptiste windows so quickly. And the amount of damage that they're able to do through it is ridiculous. 1-0 for the Dundee Vanguard. Yes, there was a bit of a hiccup, a bit of a... We've gone a little bit too far for Mango especially. Managing to find a selfie limb on Control Center of all points on Lijiang Tower, but there we go.
Yeah,
we get to it eventually. Impressive. And it feels like that's the only thing that's stopping them is themselves.
I do think I want to give Scuba a little bit of praise. It was unfortunate they lost that fight, because baiting out the Shion ult with the return, after I call out the return playing a bit out of order, goes for a full bait, manages to bait out a huge ultimate, but in the end the snowball from Dundee Vanguard as they collapse onto Toe Ticklers is too much. It's a switch up here. We've got the cat coming through instead of the Mizuki, and we have a Genji on Finfinity, which I think is more akin to an Anran pick, so could get some bigger value here than a Junkrat, which didn't quite look nice. But Mango switching up here on that sightline, trying to get that aim lock on. Is just doing so much burst damage.
Yeah, I worry that the positioning is going to be taken advantage of here, as immediately you can get that aim lock onto the Enchanted, do a lot of damage, and we've already Red Clover gone. The rest of the team just turns around, and once more they're just finding the kills and progressing through this team exactly as needed. The lock onto the Orisa is going to be an easy one every single time for Mango, and this point goes to Dundee Vanguard first once again.
Yeah, I think the Sierra stop's cool. I think it's pretty nice in terms of just some consistent damage potential. I think okay, we're switching back over to the Ramatra. It's between Orisa and Ramatra for Toe Ticklers, and Finfinity's actually mirrored that. So perhaps seeing the value of it and feeling uncomfortable going in alone as Genji. I don't know. It feels so difficult here. Scuba is close to the catnap at the very least. That's something they can get through. Actually, the closest to any ults other than Mango on the Sierra side. But that ult is pretty easy to avoid. So there's potential here as the Enchanted comes on the sideline. The rock's going to miss, but here it comes. It's going to find Vex. And that's tragic for the Kiriko. Should be able to survive that one, but can't quite get away from it. And there's Stampy Penguin. And then go for 2 more. Gets 3 in the fight. And it's just the Enchanted backing away. Gets rocked to the face. That Sigma ban from the previous map doesn't pay off here, because Placid Flunkies can pick that rock up in your face and then take out the Enchanted.
Yeah, again, nothing that you can do. The steamroll comes back in once more, and Vex going down early to that Sierra ultimate. Just really brings the sting out of the tail. Yes, you've got that catnap, and it's the only thing that you've got online, but you really need something more impactful to come through. The Enchanted just desperately has to get round the corner to escape from the attack. Baptiste, who's now in the backline, taking down Red Clover, does manage to get the kill, and look at the 4 ults that are online. The catnap misses as well. Everything just feels like it's going the way of Dundee Vanguard now. 85% to the full capture. It's going to be difficult to get through here. The Flux catches onto both Infinity and the Enchanted. Now you can see that ult bank that's been built up by the Vanguard used perfectly, making sure that the touch is not progressible. Vex left all on their lonesome. And once again, the Vanguard just looking dominant. They come in as the favourites off of the seeding, but you've got to prove yourself in that situation, and that is exactly what they came out here and did.
Yeah, it wasn't really close, unfortunately. Ticklers couldn't get much going here. Just domination overall. Stabby Penguin, I think. It's between them and then Mango for my MVP here, but I think overall looked consistent on that Baptiste and made it so difficult to do anything here. This is lovely Xion gameplay, actually, showing the value of all the kit there, but it was just tough. It was just tough. I think it was just a pretty overall team gap. Vex really struggling to survive for most of the game. I think spent as much time respawning and walking back from spawn as they did fighting in this game, and it's difficult when you are just getting gapped like that and you can't quite find space to even live. You feel like you can't make your own plays, can't get your own momentum going. You're just stumped every single angle by every single player. You got Mango shooting you down, Stumpy Penguin. You got the Tracer banned out in the first, but in the end they switch over to a cast in the second, and it's still putting off that offensive pressure. It's just difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I worried about the Sierra swap coming in from Mango as well, is it felt like the positioning of Ticklers wasn't quite on point, and that was what was being punished with the Widowmaker. And essentially what a Sierra does to you is punishes that bad positioning to I mean, not quite the extent that a Widowmaker does, because a Widowmaker can just clean take you out, but if you've got nowhere that you can go to get away from that tracking shot, comes in and hits you, there's nothing else. You're just gone. And we didn't see it too often. It was more to get some burst damage onto the tank, but in the same existence, it's just a rough situation for the Ticklers to be in. There's some stuff that they can take out of this game for sure. It's unfortunate that they came in here and they came up against the Dundee Vanguard team that really looked up for it. When you want to cause an upset, you want this team to be able to, come up against a team that is going to have a little bit of an issue. But before we go to a break, as we wait for our second matches to come up, a reminder that we also have the A stream going on. So if you want a bit more action before we start up our second round of matches, we have got Lancaster Bombers versus Donuts on that A stream. So head over there for a bit if you want to see some more action from USS. But for now, on the B stream, we're going to head to a quick break before we come back with our second round of games.